Primal Chaos.
Hey guys, Primal Chaos here. Welcome to the channel. So it's been a minute since I checked out any Postmodern Jukebox. And one thing that I don't think I've ever done is to check out anything that they've done with Puddles Pity Party. I don't think I've ever seen Puddles work, although I feel like deep in my memory banks, I might have checked out a video years ago of him singing like Creep or something by Radiohead. And so I kind of get the vibe, right? I've never gotten around to clicking on any of PMJ's stuff with Puddles. Maybe that was what I was looking at. I don't know. Like it's been a really long time anyway. I get the vibe, almost like a operatic style Pagliacci kind of sad clown kind of thing. And I've always been really curious. I've just never gotten around to doing it. I'm kind of really excited to check it out because phenomenons like this don't just happen, right? This is somebody who's had a dream and they've run it by all their friends and they go, I'm going to do sad clown music. And people are like, do you think that's such a good idea? And then they went out there and they kicked ass and changed the world, right? So really curious. And also I feel like I'm sort of like getting my feet wet here, like dipping my toes in, because this also has Haley Reinhart featured in it, which is obviously an artist I'm familiar with now. So I'm really excited to check this out. Mad World is definitely a song that's a moving song. Real interesting to see how PMJ interprets this one and sort of how Puddles and also Haley contribute to it to sort of bring out that sort of really dark, melancholy aesthetic of the song, right? So anyway, we're going to dive right in. But first, I just wanted to say this video is brought to you in part by Enchroma Glasses. Enchroma makes glasses for people like myself who are colorblind. So if you or anyone you know is colorblind, feel free to click the link in my description. It'll take you to their website where you can get a free eye test and find out whether or not you have a deficiency. And if so, if there's any kind of corrective lenses you can pick up there that will help you see the world a little bit more like everyone else. They're a great gift, and I wear mine every day. I love them to death. So, but yeah, let's just jump straight in. Here we go. Mad World Vintage Vaudeville featuring Puddles Pity Party and Haley Reinhart. Here we go.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for their daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. Their tears are filling up their glasses, no expression, no expression. Hide my head, I want to drown my sorrow. No tomorrow, no tomorrow.
Oh,
And I find it kind of funny, find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I ever had. I find it hard to tell you, find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very bad world.
oh, that's beautiful.
Children waiting for the day they feel good. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Wanna feel the way that every child should sit and listen. Went to school and I was very nervous. No one knew me, no one knew me. And no teacher tell me what's my lesson. Look right through me, look right through me. And I
Wow. Okay. These guys never fail to surprise me, and I love that so much about them. But oh my God, where do I even start? First of all, I mean, again, you know, you're drawn straight into that sort of aesthetic of like, you know, the sad clown, right? It sort of brings with it a certain nuance that you kind of, you have this expectation of just, you know, obviously sadness, right? And melancholy and moodiness. And it's a caricature of your emotions, right? That's what clowns are, really. They're like a caricature of humor, or, you know, depending on what sort of emotion the clown's leaning into, they can take on so many different roles as far as like, again, caricaturizing your feelings about things, right? And so a sad clown's job is to make you feel pity, right? Puddles Pity Party, for this forlorn character, right? And so you get that in the start.
Faces, bright and early.
But he has this earnestness in the way that he's looking into your soul as the camera. He's like, it's pleading, right? And first of all, what I want to talk about is that first piano note.
All around me are familiar.
It just starts with like this dissonance, right? And it just puts you right off kilter, right off the first note. And then he's got this pleading look in his eyes, like he's begging hat in hand for you to feel something alongside of him or to take on some of his emotion, right? And then out of nowhere pops this
Drown my sorrow. No tomorrow. No tomorrow.
And I find it kind
this vivacious little sassy childlike energy kind of broad, right? Who just kind of steps out, and she adds this kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of almost like a slapsticky element, and again a caricaturization of cheekiness. If you watch those old like 1950s cartoons and stuff like that, you know, they'd always have these sassy little Betty Boop kind of cutesy characters that had an energy to them that was cheeky and sort of fun. And so these two are like counter to each other, and they're playing off each other. And it's just, you can't write this. It's just so perfectly intermeshed that it just works. It's so joyful. It just, I'm enjoying this way too much. But again, when you watch, if you can drag your eyes off Haley's performance for a second and look at Puddles, he's kind of still got that earnest, pleading look in his eyes, you know, as if it reminds me of like, imagine like a cartoon with two dogs, and one of the dogs is this big, sad dog. And then there's this sassy little Jack Russell that hangs out with the dog, and they're thick as thieves, and they're always getting up to mischief together, but they have their roles to play in their relationship, right? That's the vibe I'm getting. I don't know if it translates to anyone else, if you know what I'm saying, but you know, she seems like the little dog that gets the big dog into trouble all the time, if that makes sense.
of funny, find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I ever had. I find it hard to tell you, find it hard to change.
Her voice is so effortless too.
People run in circles, it's a very, very bad world.
Watch Puddles' face.
Children waiting for the day they
He's
feel
never out of
the
character.
Happy birthday, happy birthday. Wanna feel the way that every child should sit and listen, sit and listen. Went to school and I was very nervous. No one knew me, no one knew me. And the teacher tell me, what's my lesson? Look right through me, look right through me. And I find it kind of funny, find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I ever had. Find it hard to tell you, find it hard to change. When people run in circles, it's a very, very bad
Oh, yes.
And I find it kind of funny, find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I ever had. Find it hard to tell you, find it hard to change. When people run in circles, it's a very, very bad world.
Oh, the lick. Come on.
Enlarge your world.
So many different feels with the band. Oh, that was brilliant. That was so good. I cannot say enough good things about this performance. Oh my God. So the character that Haley's playing here, And she's definitely playing a role, and she does every time she does this. I'm gonna have to check out some of her work outside of Postmodern Jukebox, because this is my only really sort of avenue for interacting with her as an artist, right? But I want to see kind of what she does in her own space, as far as does she sort of stick with this kind of aesthetic or not. But she definitely feels like she's playing a character in this one. And the thing that's so beautifully authentic about it is it just reminds me that it's that her performance is so unpolished, right? And by that I don't mean that it, there's anything about it that I would change. I mean that it's got a flow to it and an energy that's very authentic, and it just seems like if you walked into it was the 1930s, right? And you were in some rural town somewhere in the middle of America, and you walked into a bar or a juke joint, and some young lady was up there singing with a guy with a double bass and a piano, and she has no experience in the world other than she's a local girl who people noticed could sing good. And so one day they dragged her up on stage and they're like, kid, you can do this. And then they, and that's what she does now. There's nothing, it doesn't seem like a performer that's been, through Juilliard or, had any sort of contemporary classical training or anything like that, because it's got no fine edges. It's so, but by the same token, it's even probably more equally or more impressive because she's imparting that cultural kind of specificity in a way that seems so effortless that it seems like it's channeling through her rather than she's going, I'm going to put on a bit of a kind of vibe, right? Because anybody can mimic something like that. But to really fundamentally get the nuance of the character of like some young blonde curly haired girl who is the local girl who everyone noticed could sing good, and so dragged her up on stage and she just naturally evokes that sort of sultry character. That's the vibe I'm getting with what she's playing, and it's so beautifully authentic. If she was playing a role on a movie, I'd be like, why doesn't she win an Oscar for this, right? Because she's so 100% evoking that vibe in me as the viewer, right? And the listener. And again, I can't say enough great things about Puddles too, because he has a beautiful voice, but again, his character it never leaves him for a second. He's in character the whole time. Every time that Haley's interacting with him or doing anything, he's still evoking that sort of melancholy yearning and pleading with his eyes and his eyebrows. And the way that he's moving his hands, like when he's doing back here, when he's sort of singing, if you watch his hands, they're so beautifully expressive, like a guy wearing gloves. If you're wearing gloves, you're always going to talk like this, but he moves almost like a little bit of a marionette. He's got kind of like a flavor to his hand movements and his motion. Again, that sort of, it's so pinpoint accurate to the vibe. It's like, these people really know what they're going for, and they know how to get there. And then again, it's the same with the band. They so fundamentally understand the concepts behind what makes this style of music great, and the diversity of the character of all of these different styles, moving through different tempos and different sort of timing changes and I guess feels, like they'll just bump into a part that sort of heavily accents like the triplet sort of feel, or, like trundles along at a stumbling walking pace and then sort of moves into something a little bit more direct rhythmically. Because you could very easily come up with a flavor for this song and just play that the whole way through, and people would still be like, yeah, great song. But this takes an extra level of passion and love and understanding to achieve. And that's, I think that's fundamentally when people who aren't sure why, like say the layperson, like the average listener who's not musically inclined or whatever, they just know what they like. I feel like that's probably what they're seeing that they can't quantify. It's that authenticity and passion. And there's that niggling thing in the back of their head that they're like, oh, I feel like I've heard this before somewhere very real and very authentic, like culturally or like heritage based in a different time, through old recordings or something they've seen on TV or film or whatever. These guys are playing directly into that part of the brain that's historically remembering a real place and a real time. rather than just playing a song in the style of like the swinging 60s or the roaring 40s or whatever, they can somehow make it feel real. Suffice it to say, this was just an amazing performance. It's always fun watching these guys. They're so pinpoint accurate with their depictions of the different styles and genres and stuff like that. It's just amazing watching experts do what they do to an elite level, right? That's just fun to watch. Doesn't matter if it's sport, music, art, acting, whatever it is. It's always exciting to watch people just nail it every single time. And they just have PMJ has a really good history of, applying the right guest vocalist for a performance and things like that as well. So, this is always fun. It's a great way to spend the afternoon checking this out. Anyway, that's about all I got to say. I'd love to hear more from you guys. If you got any comments about like how they, I want to know more about how they sort of got introduced to Puddles and, any sort of insider information about behind the scenes with these guys that I may not already know. And also what should I check out next as well? That's always fun, seeing in the comments what sort of shakes its way to the surface. Thanks again, guys. I appreciate you watching. If you feel like I've brightened your day at all, feel free to support the channel just by buying me a coffee. I'll leave a link in the description. Also, you can just hit super thanks under the video as well. And just like, share, follow, subscribe. That's always really helpful. Man, I'm a big fan of PMJ now. I mean, with the limited amount of stuff I've checked out, it's all been absolutely amazing. I think they might be coming to Australia very soon. I might have to see if I can check them out. But anyway, thanks, guys. Appreciate everything. Stay primal. I'll catch you in the next one.